Well, I don't know if you guys believe this or not, but the vast majority of this show is going to be about the testimony that we all sat down on this same channel and watched yesterday. So we'll go over some of that, including the tears on this, the fact that they are getting ready to riot and protest outside the courthouse, and a whole host of other fun stuff that came up out of that. And once we're done with that, and by the way, I don't have to go to my regular 10 to 7 job today, so if we run a little bit long, we are going to run a little bit long. Sorry, Steven. In other news, Sweeney concedes the election to the truck driver that he can't stand right now over in New Jersey, so we'll talk just a bit about that. 51-month sentence has been urged for Jacob Chansley, the Q shaman. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there. And Congress has mandated car makers put an alcohol sensor in their cars in order to get them to starting as early as 2026. Quote tweet, if you believe that this violates the 4th and 5th Amendments, it is going to be all this and more. Let's go, Brandon. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Ed Heads. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and boy, oh boy, Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, was yesterday a fuck story. I didn't plan to not have to work. Like I said on Contemporary yesterday, they forced me off for these couple days. I didn't plan to not have to go to work yesterday, where I could sit here and stream the latter 2/3 rather, of the Rittenhouse testimony. I didn't plan for any of that at all. It just kind of happened as a happy accident. I got off stream, I went over to the kitchen, I had a cheat meal, I made some cinnamon rolls, and my friend Stephen Ignoramus, one of my best friends in the world, I keep saying that, one of my best friends in the world, got on stream and said, "Oh, Rittenhouse is testifying right now," and we went right into it. And as soon as he said, "I can't go back and finish this," I said, "I will pick up the slack." And I am so glad that I did. I am so glad that I got to see this not filtered through the MSM, as it actually happened live as we went on there. And we've got, well, almost the entire show is dedicated to that today. We'll do our finance still, obviously. We'll do thing I like, thing I hate. We've got a couple other things off to the end, but that's just across the top. Where is it? Yeah, 3/4 of the tabs I have up to, no, I would say 2/3 because I've got the finance up there too, but 2/3 of the tabs I have up here are just on the Rittenhouse testimony yesterday, which, you know, it always makes you crazy and wonder what they're trying to distract you from right now with, you know, raise the debt ceiling and budget reconciliation are both up on the table right now too, but we're going to talk about all of that. I don't have anything raise the debt ceiling or budget reconciliation on the stack right now, but they're doing stuff behind your backs on that too, so we are going to have to spend Friday and probably Monday paying attention to that and deliberately going around the mainstream media filters and seeing what they're doing with that. But that's going to be all this and more over on Contemporary. Before we get started, make sure you guys go and check out the website, and that is, I am talking about TurnSomePagesProductions.com. Go and check that website out. We still have a start page up. Still working on getting the funding to get this started, so if you guys want to help to make sure that you and your friends can all get news from people who don't wear suits that cost more than your house, well, then throw a couple bucks in for us, but go make sure you bookmark TurnSomePagesProductions.com. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great place where you can go see great creators such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The Already Conservative, The Freckles and Brit Show, and The Porch Boys. All great creators. All of them have a lot to say about what's going on here too, and I'm sure that the next time every one of them streams, we're going to be talking about the same thing here. And it's interesting to see it from 6 different angles too, 6 different opinions, 6 different people. So go and check that out. We're working on making sure we have writers, that we have authors, that we have more creators, trying to work up to points where we can get audio platforms and just ways that we can bypass the mainstream media off of this because, well, as we're going to see today, the mainstream media is kind of cancer when they talk about stuff like this. What else do we have going on here? In other news, you guys can go check out the GoFundMe. Let me get the link in the live chat for you. Go check that out. Help us raise money to get the website started. GoFundMe.com/app/help-launch-turn-some-pages. Help us out. Make sure that we can come out here and get the web lady paid. Because she needs to get paid. We like Bobby Joe, and we want to make sure that she gets paid for all the work that she's done for us. We are just over 1/4 of the way to the goal, so if you guys want to help out, throw a couple bucks into that. That will be super helpful to everybody, and help us, once again, help you get news from people who don't wear suits that cost more than your house. People who've had to make the same decisions that you have. All right, let's look at finance. Looking at the Dow. The Dow... Well, that's kind of funny to watch too because, oh, it's transitory, it's going to be fine. Look, we got the infrastructure bill passed. And, well, once we got the inflation report, that's starting to make people think again about the amount of money that's going to get spent by Congress here in just a minute. So, once the inflation report came back out, 6.8% inflation year over year. And the markets are not happy about that. 36,079.94. I think that my prediction was going to be correct to J. Edgar, not the other J. Edgar over on Twitter, when he said Dow 36,000 this week, and I said it's possible, because I knew it was possible, but I don't know if it has staying power. If they have another day like today, my prediction will have been correct, and there would not be a staying power on the 36,000. I don't know. Once the debt ceiling thing pops up here, I'm anticipating another really, really hard shake-in the markets too, but We will see what happens with that. Looking in at your Bitcoin. Bitcoin is on the decline. It is on the retreat right now, down to $64,885 and 50 US cents. So, a couple factors looking into that, especially the inflation, and people looking at the fact that they have to sell off stock and Bitcoin to make sure that mortgage, food, everything else is paid to go with. On your scrap metal prices, looking at your industrials, copper is on the upswing once again. Steel continues to rise. Aluminum is back on the downswing. Looking in at your individuals, everything, I was about to say everything that has copper in it is on the rise, and then I looked at Romex and brass. Looks like you've got a lot of copper that's on the rise, though. Romex and brass seem to be bucking the trend and going downwards. Your steel, your BX steel, finally broke and started to come back downward. Your brass shells are up. Light iron is up. Number one steel is up. Stainless is down. It's another one bucking the trend. On aluminum, siding dropped. Another one that just finally broke. That's been on a fairly comfortable upswing. Copper fin radiators are up. Aluminum radiators are up. Cans are coming back up again. Looks like everything else with aluminum is on the upswing on your other plays. Electric motors are down. Ballasts are up. Lead is up. Car and truck batteries continue to fall down. Catalytic converters are all up right now. So, if you got that car you want to junk, make sure you cut the cat out before you go bring it over to the scrapyard. Compressors are down, alternators are down, and carbide is down. So that's what your industrial report looks like. All right, let's see what IBD has to say about the markets here. Dow Jones futures point to market rally. Musk sells $5 billion in Tesla stock. Rivian rises again, affirm spikes. From Ed Carson. Dow futures rose slightly Thursday morning, while S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures were a little stronger. Disney, Affirm Holdings, and SoFi stock were among the key earning movers overnight, with Tesla stock sales also in focus. The stock market rally pulled back again on Wednesday despite a solid Rivian IPO debut and a rebound in Tesla stock as Treasury yields rebounded on hot inflation data. Several big IPO winners, including Upstart Holdings, sold off sharply Wednesday on earnings, but Apple, Microsoft, Google parent Alphabet gave up ground, while many chip names such as Nvidia and AMD suffered big losses. Rivian jumped 29% to 173 on Wednesday's trading debut. Rivian brought us back up to the top of the article. Rivian stock closed with a market cap of $85.9 billion, almost equal to that of General Motors and above Ford Motor, $77 billion. Shares rose high as $119.45 and as low as $95.20. Rivian stock rose 6% before Thursday's opening, signaling it'll open day 2 with a bigger market cap than GM stock. Rivian sold an upsize to 153 million shares Tuesday night at $78 a share, above an already raised price range of $72 to $74. The much anticipated Rivian IPO raised $11.9 billion, making it the biggest new issue in years. Rivian has already begun limited deliveries of its R1T electric pickup, with the R1S large SUV due out by year end, but much of its near-term focus will be on making 100,000 electric vans for Amazon.com. Let me guess. R1V is going to be the name of that. Just a reminder on Instagram, you're only getting half of the morning coffee over here. And once we get up onto the Rittenhouse stuff at the end of this, all the video will be displayed behind me on that link in bio. Rivian, let's see, Amazon owns 20% of Rivian, with Ford holding 12%. Looks like we're already getting a good crowd over here on the main channels too, by the way. I can see that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Tesla stock bounces. Meanwhile, Tesla stock rose 4.3% to $1067.95, rebounding from an intraday low of $987.13, reclaiming its 21-day moving average. Tesla stock is down nearly 13% for the week after slumping 4.8% on Monday and tumbling 12% on Tuesday. Those declines came after CEO Elon Musk signaled over the weekend that he would sell 10% of his huge Tesla stock stake. Musk held 170 million shares with millions more in options. Late Wednesday, the company disclosed that Elon Musk sold 2.5 million shares for nearly $5 billion. An SEC filing also showed that the divestitures were part of an automatic stock sale plan on September 14th, well before Musk asked Twitter followers on November 6th for their approval. We're going to skip the earnings reports off of this here. We've really got to get into this Rittenhouse thing. On your futures, Dow futures rose 0.1% versus fair value, even with Disney stock a drag on blue chips. S&P 500 futures climbed 0.4%, and NASDAQ 100 futures advanced 0.7%. Tesla stock is giving a lift to the S&P 500 and NASDAQ, but EV and techs are rebounding. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Let's grab one from CNN really quick. This is the updates portion of this, but
Matt, the
just the headline
inflation report just released.
Stop autoplaying in my ears. We're listening to lo-fi. U.S. stocks sink after inflation surges. That's it, right there. That's the headline. The inflation came up, and all the gains that everybody looked at and said, the infrastructure bill is passing. It's done. Because your inflation is still going to kill everything, and people are going to put two and two together. Because once that money printer starts going burr on the infrastructure package, your milk is going to get a lot more expensive, especially for that poor family that CNN had to ridicule. The milk. They're buying 12 gallons of milk a week. Why? Well, they got 20 kids. That's why. Let's get into it. After we spent 5 hours talking about it yesterday. Starting with NBC. Dude, before I even get into this, and I've got the tweet from Anna Navarro coming up here. These people are demons. These left-wing activists that we see coming out here that are saying, oh, the crocodile tears, and he looked over to his left, he looked over to his right, and These people are fucking demons, yo. These people are demons. They're absolute horrifying people. I can't even believe I share life with these people. I share a world with these people. A lot of the people, and this is why I'm so glad that I sat down yesterday and got to watch this live. Because watching this filtered through the MSM would have, I mean, we're going to look and see what the MSM said. And I have all kinds of articles talking about what the MSM had to say about this. It's straight up demonic the way that they're doing this, the way they're trying to come off of this. Starting with NBC News today, Kyle Rittenhouse sobs on witness stand, says he gunned down men after attacks. This is from David K. Lee. Kyle Rittenhouse told Wisconsin jurors Wednesday that he had no choice but to fatally shoot 2 men and seriously wound a third, saying he was stopping the person who was attacking me. Testifying in his own defense, Rittenhouse said he was protecting private property in Kenosha and providing first aid on August 25, 2020, when his fatal confrontations with Anthony Hoover and Joseph Rosenbaum, 36, unfolded. Rittenhouse is facing 2 counts of homicide, described Rosenbaum as the person who attacked me first and threatened to kill me twice. Yes, we listened to the ever based granny yesterday with the wording that she decided to have and say with that. But let's actually drop the music right now. And, you know, NBC News has been so kind to provide us with video of what it is that they're mocking at this point. So let's watch.
When you step back from Mr. Zeminski, what's your plan?
My plan is to get out of that situation and go back north down Sheridan Road to where the car source lot number 2 was.
Which, that right there is exactly what he should have been doing, getting out of the situation. That's the first thing you should do. If anything escalates ever like that, that's the first thing you should do, is get out of the situation as best as you can. Your armament should be your last resort. And from everything that we saw off the video, including the pinch and zoom, that was a clusterfuck story in and of itself. And yes, I have that article queued up. And some other stories that go along with that. But yeah, that's the first thing you should be doing, is coming out here and making sure you get out of a situation like that. And I love the fact that NBC is using the MSNBC reports off of that. Kyle Rittenhouse takes a stand in double homicide case. Well, technically that's true, but I also know how it is that you're trying to play this to your audience. Let's keep listening.
And did you get back? Were you able to go in a northerly direction?
I wasn't.
Describe what happened.
Once I take that step back, I look over my shoulder, and Mr. Rosenbaum was now running from my right side, and I was cornered from in front of me with Mr. Zeminski, and there were three people right there.
Take a deep breath, Kyle.
Well, one of the things that they've been trying to do on the mainstream media when he gets into this breakdown mode like this is they've been trying to, and I caught a little bit of it too, where he looked off to our left, the left side of the screen where I'm looking here, which would have been to his right, which given that court, and yes, I know, I admit I have sat in that same courthouse. I've never been in a jury trial before, but I have sat in that courthouse and talked to a judge in that same courthouse. So I know how it's laid out, and he sits there on the stand, and yeah, to his right would be the jury, and that's what they're trying to come up and say. Well, he looked over to the jury. He tried to make sure that they were silent, dude. And the other one, I see no tears. I see no tears whatsoever. Dude, the kid is hyperventilating, and he's recounting the fact where he thought his life was in so much danger that he had to take somebody else's life.
That's what That's what I run.
We're gonna just take it.
Like, I mean, that last gulp of air right there too, the hyperventilating that he was starting off of. I mean, I thought that he was going to throw up on the stand when I first saw that. And I felt that kind of panic attack, not for the same reasons, obviously, but when you get to that point where you're panicking that hard, your stomach tightens up like that. I thought he was gonna puke right then and there.
For our break, anyway, you can just relax for a minute, sir. We're going to take a break, about 10 minutes, and please don't talk about the case during the break. Read, watch, or listen to any account of the trial.
During the eve.
So, and I mean, the people who are detractors of all this, they're looking to this. They're trying to find a reason to come out and find any guilty verdict. And, some of this I'm looking at, some of this I'm watching, and some of this I'm seeing. They're trying to get the riots going. We'll talk about that later on in the show, too. He added that Rosenbaum used the F word multiple times in verbally confronting him. He screamed, "If I catch any of you fuckers alone, I'm going to fucking kill you," Rittenhouse quoted the victim, saying, he said, "I'm going to cut your fucking hearts out." And Kyle left some of the other words out. I do remember that video off of there. Judge, I'm not going to repeat that the word that he said, but he said, "I'm going to kill you fucking N-words. I'm going to cut your motherfucking hearts out." Whereas the granny yesterday just let it flow, let it go. That woman had no shame, and I was here for that. As defense lawyer Mark Richards was directing him to describe the moments immediately before he opened fire on Rosenbaum, Rittenhouse began sobbing uncontrollably, prompting Kenosha County Circuit Judge Bruce Schrader to call for a recess. Rittenhouse went on to explain that Huber attacked him with a skateboard and pulled away his gun, prompting him to pull the trigger. Let's listen to that.
Evening, was there any friction between your group and protesters / rioters?
No. The only type of stuff that happened was the person that attacked me first threatened to kill me twice.
Okay. And the person who threatened to kill you, we now know is Mr. Rosenbaum, correct?
Yes.
Before August 25th of 2020, had you ever seen him before?
I did not.
Had you ever done anything to upset him?
No.
Now, you said he threatened to kill you twice.
Yes.
Describe the first time.
The first time was me and Ryan Balch were a little bit north, towards the north corner of 59th and Sheridan, and Mr. Rosenbaum was walking with a steel chain, and he had a blue mask around his face, and he was just mad about something. Me and Mr. Balch were asking people if they needed medical help, and then he screamed, sorry for my language, he screamed, "If I catch any of you alone."
I love how NBC has to go and bleep that out, and Court TV was able to put that right up on the screen on YouTube. Which means that, by the way, if it went on YouTube, it went on to their main cable channel too. Let's back that up just a touch. Oh no, I hope I didn't inalienably alter this by editing and backing up the track. That was such a fucking stupid thing yesterday. No, keep playing. Okay, apparently it doesn't want to keep playing anymore. That's fucking lame. Okay, anyway. So we don't get to hear the language. Oh, NBC, you and your stupid fucking technical stuff. Alright, anyway, but that's what we see coming out of that. And, I mean, those were real tears, dude. That guy was having a panic attack right up on the stand. Mr. Huber runs up, and as I'm getting up, he strikes me in the neck with his skateboard a second time, Rittenhouse says. He grabs my gun. I can feel it pulling away from me. I can feel the straps coming off my body. I fire one shot. ADA Binger challenged Rittenhouse's right to gun down 2 victims. He repeatedly asked if Rittenhouse intended to kill anybody. Well, no, it was a last thing. It was a last-minute thing at the end of it where it was just, okay, this kid, I know I'm going to die. I don't ever want to have to use what I carry. Ever. And this was the big thing for me, too. This is the thing that pissed me off. Because a lot of the testimony was out there, especially when the persecutor came back out and tried to cross. To say, well, you carried a gun down there because you expected that you had to use it. And this is the exact same point that I made yesterday. Outside of that door, sitting over the top of this monitor here, there's a door down a hallway. And immediately outside of that door, hanging on a bright red hook, is a bright red cylinder with a rubber hose sticking out of the top of it. A fire extinguisher. I never, ever expected in my life that I would ever have to use a fire extinguisher for anything else. I never expected that there would be a kitchen fire, a house fire, or anything else. Ever in my life. I've never expected that. But the day that I turned my back and came into the living room to continue picking up what I was picking up, and I heard the vent fan change pitch over in the kitchen, and then walked out and found a cast iron pan on my stove in flames. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, was I ever glad that that was there. I was very glad that that cylinder was there out there. And it's the same thing with carrying a rifle downtown, or carrying a handgun for that matter. When I carry a handgun downtown in Kenosha, I don't ever want to use it. I don't ever want to look somebody in the eyes as the life is going out of their eyes because of an action that I did directly. But I'm telling you right now, if it's me or him, it's going to be him. Let's see. I didn't intend to kill them. I intended to stop the people who were attacking me, Rittenhouse said. I did what I had to do to stop the person who was attacking me. On several occasions, Binger asked Rittenhouse why he even needed to be armed with such a powerful weaponry if the goal was only to provide first aid. Yeah, we'll be looking at that meme too. I've got a meme for the end of the show. I brought the gun for my protection, Rittenhouse said. I didn't think I would have to use the gun to end up defending myself. Rittenhouse got emotional again late in the day when Binger challenged him about the shooting of unarmed Rosenbaum. The defendant Rosenbaum was trying to take his gun. If he would have taken my gun, he would have used it against me, said Rittenhouse. I never wanted to shoot Mr. Rosenbaum. He was chasing me. I was alone. He threatened to kill me earlier in the night. I didn't want to have to shoot him. At another point, Binger grilled Rittenhouse about a third person he shot and seriously injured, Gage Grosskreutz, the paramedic, fuck off, from suburban Milwaukee, had gone to protest and provide medical aid and was carrying a Glock pistol when Rittenhouse shot him from close range. In a video showing the moments just before the shooting, Grosskreutz can be seen crouched over with his hands up in the air. Rittenhouse said he'd been attacked by several people by that point and believed Grosskreutz decided to come and point a gun at my head. So that's a very, very bastardized version of the testimony that came off of here, but people are demons, yo. But the protests have already started. Going back onto the crocodile tears here from WISN 12 Milwaukee. It was court theatrics. Ralliers outside call emotional Rittenhouse testimony a circus act. From Carolyn Reinwald. After an emotional testimony by Kyle Rittenhouse on Wednesday, ralliers gathered outside the courthouse and marched around Civic Center Park. It was a circus. It was an act. You could tell by his testimony before his lawyers and his testimony before the prosecutor that he'd been trained. He had been scripted, said Bishop Travis Grant of Rainbow Push Coalition. It was court theatrics. The fact of the matter is, this is not a play. This is not a rehearsal. 2 people were killed that night, and he should be held accountable for all of them. At certain points, the ralliers held candles and gathered in prayer. Why did a 17-year-old come to Kenosha armed with a gun, said Devin Johnson, who said she was a friend of the 2 people Rittenhouse killed. Was she a friend of the victims that Rosenbaum viciously and violently assaulted? At the end of this case, we want everyone to know this city, state, and county has blood on their hands, said Jacob Blake, the uncle of Jacob Blake, or Justin Blake rather, the uncle of Jacob Blake, who was shot in the back by a Kenosha police officer last summer, setting off multiple nights of unrest. There were also Rittenhouse supporters present, because of course there were. He was acting in self-defense, and I believe that's clear, said Kathleen Snyder, who sat outside the courthouse watching Rittenhouse's testimony live-streamed. I could see that he was exhausted, emotional. It's difficult for him to watch the live videos. We're just praying for him and his family. WISN News asked Wendy Rittenhouse, Rittenhouse's mother, if she had any comment about her son's testimony on Wednesday as she was leaving the courthouse. She did not respond to questions.
Say Anthony and Joan! Anthony and Joan!
Across the street from the courthouse in Civic Center Park, ralliers called Kyle Rittenhouse's testimony Wednesday a circus act.
This team scripted him, they trained him, it was court theatrics. The fact of the matter is, this is not a play, this is not a rehearsal. 2 people were killed that night, and he should be held accountable for all of it.
Holding candles, saying prayers, the ralliers spoke about the night Rittenhouse shot 3 people, killing 2 of them.
Why did a 17-year-old come to Kenosha armed with a gun?
At the end of this case, we want everybody to know that this city, county, and state has blood on their hands.
Rittenhouse.
Hold up.
Say Anthony and Joan! Anthony and Joan!
Across the street from the courthouse in Civic Center Park, ralliers called Kyle Rittenhouse's testimony Wednesday a circus act.
Hold up.
Come to Kenosha armed with a gun.
At the end of this case, we want...
I think that's the guy that confronted me outside the courthouse that day. I'm pretty sure that's the dude. I can't see his face to see if he's missing a bunch of teeth, but the facial shape is the same. Then the dude had the braids too. I think that's the guy that confronted me outside the courthouse when I went down there just to live stream out.
Everybody to know that this city, county, and state has blood on their hands.
Rittenhouse supporters were also nearby. One told me she's praying for him and his family.
He was acting in self-defense, and I believe that's clear.
What did you think about his testimony today?
I could see that he is exhausted.
Probably Rittenhouse's biggest supporter, his mother, teary-eyed in court, tight-lipped, leaving.
Mrs. Rittenhouse, what did you think about Kyle on the stand today? What did you think about Kyle on the stand today? Any comments? Now, I just got off the phone with Justin Blake, Jacob Blake's uncle. He tells me that he will continue to be outside the courthouse every day of the trial, though their larger protests and demonstrations and rallies are planned for Friday and Saturday of this week.
So that, yeah, they're rallying back out there. They're waiting for this, and now the jury has to come back and walk through this because they're not sequestered once again. All right. What else do we have here? This. So this is, and like I said right at the top of the show, these people are fucking demons. They are. I got a tweet here from Anna Navarro, and just reading, because right before I got up and started organizing the stories, I was reading down through this thread and seeing with it. Kyle Rittenhouse shot and killed Anthony Huber, 26, Joseph Rosenbaum, 36, and injured Gage Grosskreutz, now 27. Think about how much their loved ones have cried, real anguish and grief, not crocodile tears. And of course, you know, we've got the comments here, and both in other ways. And one of the other things, I'm just going to click on this one to pop up here and show this. Of course, Anna Navarro has a blue check mark, so they can bot her way out of a ratio. No matter how many people comment on this, and I'm not saying that we should go and brigade and comment brigade this whole thing or quote tweet brigade this thing, but I'm definitely not saying that because that would be against YouTube and Twitter and I believe Twitch terms of service. So definitely don't go and do that by any means of anything. But no matter how many people go back and comment brigade this this particular post, they're always going to be able to manufacture enough likes to make sure it's not ratioed. Let's see. But coming back off and just reading some of the comments off of here. I got a feeling of injustice. The judge is clearly exploding against persecutors when they do their job and confront the defendant. Look, how's the record of that judge in race cases? Because of course that's going to be the first place that they go. Beta, hashtag vaccines work, says Gage Grosskreutz lost 90% of his bicep that was injured. Well, maybe he won't raise a gun on somebody anymore. And I like all the rest of these people can't buy likes to get their ratios, get out of ratios here. Like Jacques Q. Page, it says he broke the law regardless of the two others with convictions. He was not and is not a peace officer. So many forget the word peace in front of officer. Peace is not causing harm to another being, no matter what this kid cheered on by police, not friends, not justice. Ken Bach, I find it hard to believe that him and others weren't in on trying to make something happen like this. But just the ratios in some of these, because these people are coming in here. Oh well, this is not justice, so this kid should go to prison for life, not knowing anything about this. I saw one, I believe it was this one. If I open it back up, there was one where they showed the rap sheet for Rosenbaum, which I'm going to come. No, let me finish what I was saying first. This one where they were showing the rap sheet for Rosenbaum, and somebody else said, "Oh, did you get that from Q?" Oh, that's Libertarian Party in New Hampshire too. On top of that, I didn't realize that. Did you get that from Q? Did you get his rap sheet from Q? Is that what happened? As if that matters where it comes from. But I want to point out something off of this. Now, when I said at the beginning that Rosenbaum's mental health assessment should stand, the fact that he just got out of the mental hospital, that should stand as admissible evidence. And it absolutely should, because if he was in there being more aggressive than normal towards people with guns right after he got out of suicide watch, that tells me that he was probably out there trying to commit suicide by counter-protester. That stands. But as far, and this is one of the worst things that comes out of this. I know people like to, point to the record and, he killed a wife beater and a rapist and, shot another Marxist in the arm. That's all well and good. In and of itself. We can debate that forever. But the reality is even if all three of these people had completely squeaky clean records, and every other factor of this case was exactly the same, but they all three had squeaky clean records, Rittenhouse would still be justified. Because it has nothing, what they did in their pasts had no bearing on this immediate case right now. It's only a nice bonus that a child rapist was taken off the streets. But that had nothing to do with the bearing on the case right now. The bearing on the case right now is that somebody screamed, "Fuck you," grabbed a gun after cornering somebody he had threatened to kill earlier on in the night. And he lost his life or his trouble. Somebody else swung a skateboard with the intention, that's speculative, I can't actually say that, swung a skateboard at another person's neck and lost his life or his trouble. And a third person raised a gun, hands up first, but then lowered the gun at the defendant and lost 90% of his bicep for his trouble. What they did, what these three men did prior to that night, has no bearing on any of this whatsoever. I mean, you can argue character, you can argue this and that and the next thing, but their actions in that night and the response to those actions are what's on trial. But then there are other ones too. They violently attacked the guy while he was on the ground. Curious as why you would leave that out. Well, because the mainstream media didn't tell that part. So that's what we see off of that. And Anna Navarro, she's one of the worst ones. Because she comes out and pretends to be, I'm a conservative. She's not. From Channel 3000, Madison's news source, Channel 3. Rittenhouse, I didn't do anything wrong. I defended myself. By Michael Tarm, Scott Bauer, and Kathleen Foody of the Dissociated Press. No, Katie said, I was about to say that he swung the skateboard with the intent to separate the head from the shoulders. That's speculation. Great bodily harm is not speculation. You are correct on that. But the actual intent to separate the head from the shoulders, that's speculation. Kyle Rittenhouse testified Wednesday that he was under attack when he killed 2 men and wounded a third with his rifle during a chaotic night of protests in Kenosha, saying, I didn't do anything wrong. I defended myself. In a high-stakes gamble, the 18-year-old took to the stand at his own murder trial to tell his side of what happened on the streets that day in the summer of 2020, sobbing so hard at one point the judge called a break. In an account largely corroborated by video and the persecution's own witnesses, Rittenhouse said that the first man cornered him and put his hand on the barrel of Rittenhouse's rifle. The second man hit him with a skateboard, and the third man came at him with a gun of his own. His nearly all-day testimony was interrupted by angry exchange in which his lawyers demanded a mistrial over what they argued were out-of-bounds questions asked of him by the chief prosecutor. The judge, though plainly mad at the prosecutor, did not immediately rule on the request, and later in the day he instructed the jury to expect closing arguments early next week. And there's a review of why he's back up on trial. So, and once again, it's for a jury of 12 to decide, and there are going to be jury shenanigans. We just saw they're already getting out and gathering and protesting in the park across the street. Just to remind everybody what's going on here. Because we looked at the map yesterday off of this. Get the map up again. Bring up the old map. Not the kind that that the Lincoln Project people like to hang around with, but the actual map. There's Freighter. There's the car source where all this happened. But if we come back up here, the park is X'd out again, and I don't know why. That's really weird. But there's the courthouse, and the entryway faces 56th Street. So that's where the big artistic steps and everything is. There's Ruther High School, by the way, where the graffiti was being cleaned up. And that's the Dinosaur Museum is superimposed over the top of that, even though that's over here on the other side of 10th Place. But yeah, that's the park that they're gathering in protest. God damn it. That's the park where they're gathering and protesting in, right there. Right where it says Dinosaur Discovery Museum. Superimposed over the top of that. That's where they're out there, that's where they're protesting. And the jury has to walk right by that. They don't have to walk directly through it yet. Although, when I was down there on the Monday before the trial, when they were doing jury selection, They were on the front steps, but it was only like 12 of them. But that is something that they have to see and something they have to watch. All right, what else do we have here? John Curtis put out an extensive tweet thread going through a lot of the things that happened through here. There were a couple that I want to focus on in here, though. First is the highlighted one, obviously, where Rittenhouse describes trying to turn himself into the police who were on the street, down the street from where the shootings occurred. Let's throw some music down and we'll put the video up.
I run and walk. I put my hands up, and as I'm walking towards the police, I can't really hear anything. My vision is very narrow. I can only see directly in front of me. I see the flashing lights. I remember I occasionally tried to move my rifle behind me to put it behind me so the police didn't see me as a threat when I tried to turn myself in. I continue to walk, and then I walk towards the window of the sedan, the police cruiser sedan. I don't know what they're called. And I tell the
It's a Taurus, for the record.
officer, I just shot somebody. And the officer says, "Get the fuck back or you're going to get pepper sprayed. Go home, go home, go home." I run in.
And that was actually something else that came up throughout the trial, too, because when Rittenhouse turned himself in the next morning... Oh, by the way, I do like the totally grassroots tweet that came up on top of this here. The totally grassroots that Kyle Rittenhouse is guilty was 6,981 tweets, where Free Kyle Rittenhouse, I saw earlier before it started, had over 15,000 tweets. But no, Kyle Rittenhouse is guilty is what's trending now. There's his mom looking through that, very emotional. The other one that I wanted to grab here is the beginning of the questioning.
With regard to Joseph Rosenbaum, you fired 4 shots at him, correct?
Yes.
You intended to kill him, correct?
I didn't intend to kill him. I intended to stop the person who was attacking me and trying to steal my gun.
And we might refer back to this thread a little bit too, because of, he does have some other angles and some other possibly longer clips of some of the things that were going on between the prosecutor and the judge and the defense having their arguments back and forth. So when we get to that point in the story, we'll probably refer back to this. The Call of Duty comparison was fucking bizarre.
Isn't it true when you would hang out with Dominic Black, you'd play Call of Duty and other first-person shooter video games?
Sometimes.
And those are games in which you use weapons like AR-15s to pretty much shoot anybody who comes at you, correct?
It's a video game where 2 players are playing together. I don't really understand the meaning of your question, to be honest.
Isn't one of the things people do in these video games try and kill everyone else with your guns?
Yeah, in the video game, it's just a video game, it's not real life.
Oh no! I carry, but I also play Fallout 4. I might mistake somebody as a super ghoul or a super mutant or feral ghoul or super mutant. I might start shooting. Oh no! What a fucking moron. But this was what I wanted to focus elsewhere on this thread for. This bizarre moment where the prosecutor brought up Rittenhouse's fucking TikTok. Like, seriously? And he wanted to come out here because he wanted to focus on the tagline, but for the most part, he came out, the first thing he says is this your TikTok? 4 doors, more whores? In which I tweeted out, that's Mr. 4 doors, more whores to you, Mr. Binger. Did they have the video of him saying this? I don't know. Yes, they do have the video of him saying this. I cannot do the political impression justice by saying this. I can't do the saying. We have to watch the video of this. This is great.
Your username on TikTok was 4 Doors More Whores?
Yes.
And that's a picture of you there with your AR-15, correct?
Yes.
And underneath that, you have put on your profile the phrase, bruh, B-R-U-H, I'm just trying.
Bruh, B-R-U-H.
T-R-Y-N-A-B.
Like the prosecutor doesn't understand Zoomer lingo. And it's painful to listen to this. Also hilarious.
Be famous. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're the one who wrote that?
Yes.
Your
Let's just watch that again.
Your username on TikTok was 4 Doors More Whores?
Yes.
And that's a picture of you there with your AR-15, correct?
Yes.
And underneath that, you have put on your profile the phrase, bruh, B-R-U-H, I'm just trying, T-R-Y-N-A, be famous. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're the one who wrote that?
Yes.
God forbid he has a TikTok account. Bruh, I'm just trying to be famous. All right, we will probably refer back to that because we do have some of the, like I said, the confrontations between the judge, the defense, and the prosecutor. So we'll go back to that in just a second. Tubin got into the news yesterday, and not for beating his fucking meat. Although, well, he's sitting there thinking about the fact that a young boy who votes differently from him might go to prison. He probably was sitting out there beating his fucking meat. He just had the good sense to not do it on camera this time. Matt Walsh tweets out, Jeffrey Tubin, who masturbated in front of his coworker on a Zoom call, accuses Kyle Rittenhouse of being an idiot. Okay, when I'm dictator, we're not going to have Zoom calls. So it says Matt Walsh.
Jeffrey,
Two thoughts.
Yeah.
Two thoughts. One, what kind of idiot 17-year-old gets a giant gun and goes to a riot? He has no license. He has no training. He thinks he's going to scrub graffiti off with his AR-15. I mean, the stupidity of this.
Giant gun. I'm sorry, I have to go to one of the memes towards the end of here. I was going to wait and save this for thing I like, thing I hate, but it's a very large caliber rifle. Giant gun. There's your 223. Giant gun.
So it's like, what could possibly go wrong? Well, a lot went wrong. The good news for Kyle Rittenhouse is that he's not on trial for being an idiot. He's on trial for homicide. Right. And in that respect, I mostly agree with Joey that this is a tough case for the prosecution because it does seem like he has a plausible case of self-defense. And, you know, if it were illegal to be an idiot, the jails would be even freer, even more crowded than they are now. Homicide's a different matter, and, you know, he may have a defense.
And then Tubin immediately went back to his dressing room and pulled out his fucking meat and started tubing. Why does that guy have a job still? Of course, the op-eds are coming out here, telling you what to think, or telling their idiot followers what to think. I have the smartest live chat this side of, well, I'm going to actually steal this right from my best friend. I have the smartest live chat this side of heaven. How did Rush put it? The smartest and most informed audience on radio. That's how he put that. That's what I think about you guys. But, you know, the Think, Opinion, Analysis, Essays side of NBC is going to go back and tell their idiot followers what they have to think. A sobbing Kyle Rittenhouse has already won even before his trial is over. From Isaac Bailey, professor of public policy at Davidson College and author of Why Didn't We Riot? Black Man in Trumpland. Please, I wrote an op-ed for NBC. Go buy my book. Kyle Rittenhouse, in an unusual move for a defendant, took the witness stand Wednesday. He cried. His defense team then made a motion for mistrial with prejudice, which means Rittenhouse couldn't be retried, but whatever the court rules, he has already won. He is charged with reckless homicide, intentional homicide, and attempted intentional homicide for shooting 3 people, killing 2 of them, who were protesting the police shooting of yet another black man, Jacob Blake in Kenosha. Last summer, the protest followed many St. George, hallowed be his name, inspired ones that erupted across the world calling for police accountability and justice for black lives. White allies, like the ones Rittenhouse shot, were among the protesters. Rittenhouse has pleaded not guilty. If Rittenhouse is convicted, he will likely stop being a right-wing mascot and become a right-wing martyr. If he isn't convicted, he will set a precedent for others like him to pick up guns they shouldn't have. You have no right to decide that. And thrust themselves in the middle of unrest they should avoid. Yes, only the people that agree with me should be in the middle of the unrest. Confident in knowing that prison won't be in their future. To his supporters and even many of his detractors, Rittenhouse isn't a monster. Not really. He was a young, dumb kid hyped up on the Foxification. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. This makes my brain hurt. On the Foxification or Fox News effect of American discourse on the Black Lives Matter movement in a country that fetishes guns for show, for sport, and for killing. Not a white supremacist like, say, Dylan Roof. Oh my God. Not really. He wore no hoods. He didn't wrap himself in Confederate flag. He's a patriot who tried to bring calm to chaos because a Fox News primetime host, Tucker... Really? I didn't pre-read this article, by the way. I wanted to be just as surprised and stupefied as you were. But now I toss my glasses and I can't see the screen. Because yes, I really am that blind. That's why I had a rubber band aviators to my regular glasses for my Halloween costume. Primetime host Tucker Carlson told us at the time of the shooting, the adults around him wouldn't maintain order. He was so nonviolent that police officers greeted him, and those like him, fellow guardians of the community, before he killed anybody. He didn't open fire until absolutely necessary. It was self-defense, his supporters have told us outside the courtroom, and his lawyers have argued in the courtroom. Had criminals, whom many of us prefer to call Rittenhouse's victims, though the judge said they can't be called that during the trial, not rushed him, had not provoked him, they would be alive, and he would never have been charged. None of his decisions before this moment he pulled the trigger seemed to matter. He defended himself, that's all. It's because none of his decisions before he pulled the trigger mattered. And I contend, by the way, and you know, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, so they say. But I just want to point this one out here. If Fredert had kept Rosenbaum in for another day, which clearly, given the fact that he was down there trying to kill himself by a counter-protester, meant that he was still suicidal. If they'd have kept him in for observation for another day, he, Huber, would both be alive, and Gage Grosskreutz would have his entire arm still. In fact, he'd probably be at another protest, stoking the flames and stoking the fires. I mean, look at his red, tear-stained face. Oh. Look at his red, tear-stained face on the stand, so compelling that the judge stopped the trial for 10 minutes to allow Rittenhouse to compose himself. His tears tell the story. Those protesters made him shoot them. It was their fault. It was, and only theirs, not Rittenhouse's. He was trying to do good, to protect his dying nation. No, he was rendering medical aid to people. All the video out there showed that he was up there rendering medical aid. And that's the same nonsense claim that people have been using throughout the U.S. No, he didn't go up there to defend the nation. He went up there to render aid. Clean graffiti and render aid. Yes, this is what they want you to think. All right, let's keep going. Good crowd again, by the way. LeBron mocks Rittenhouse's tears. That boy ate some lemon heads before walking into the court. I thought I had that one. No, I didn't do that one. I found that tweet, but I didn't put it up on the stack, but it'll probably be displayed in here. Oh, yeah, there it is. On Wednesday night, NBA star LeBron James mocked Kyle Rittenhouse after Rittenhouse had broken down in tears on the witness stand earlier that day. James tweeted, "What tears? I didn't see one. Man, knock it off. That boy is some lemonheads before walking into court." And there's the tweet. Once again, LeBron James. So he can bot his way out of a ratio, but he is on the road to being ratio too. For a stupid take. He's faking it. Better call Juwan Howard. What a broke fucking take. What a broken people. I swear. The Daily Wire reported earlier on Wednesday, testifying on the stand. Wednesday, Kyle Rittenhouse, 18, broke down into sobs while recalling the fatal shooting of Joan Rosenbaum. Rittenhouse, detailing the moments before he fired on Rosenbaum, recalled Rosenbaum yelling, "Burn in hell" to him before Rittenhouse yelled, "Friendly, friendly, friendly," in an attempt to calm Rosenbaum, but he was chased. Rittenhouse described feeling trapped by Rosenbaum and another man, identified during the trial as Joshua Szymanski, who fired his pistol in the air. The teen said the man had the pistol pointed at him during the incident. Before describing his actions to fire, Rittenhouse sobbed uncontrollably and a 10-minute recess was called. Last summer, USC star Colby Covington blasted James for his public statements about social justice while leaving out other issues unmentioned. Covington said, "I just see all the hypocrisy from LeBron. He claims to be about social justice, but he won't say free Hong Kong. He won't talk about Uyghurs that are locked up in concentration camps in China. He won't talk about all the women that he's profiting off of in his Chinese sweatshops that are making his shoes for dollars that he's coming over to America and selling them for hundreds of, and profiting millions off of here in America. So I just wanted to call a spade a spade. I wasn't going to let him dupe the people and make the people think that he's a social justice warrior and he's on this pedestal," Covington continued. "No, LeBron James is not on a pedestal. That guy's a piece of crap. He's a piece of garbage. He uses that school that he's funding as a tax write-off, and he wants to claim that he's some good guy." So that's what we're seeing off of that. Let's grab one from the Associated Press. This has to be a headline. This has to be out there. Pathologist. Rittenhouse shot first man at close range. No shit, Sherlock. We all knew that. Typically, and I mean, they say it's the biggest gun out there. It's a massive, massive gun. That's what they tell us anyway. He carried a massive gun. But typically, if you are close enough to reach out and grab somebody's gun and say, "Fuck you," and grab their gun, you would be considered to be in, what's that called? Oh yeah, close fucking range. Moron. From Scott Bauer, Tammy Weber, and Amy Forliti. The first man killed by Kyle Rittenhouse on the streets of Kenosha was shot at a range of just a few feet, and had soot injuries that could indicate he had his hand over the barrel of Rittenhouse's rifle, a pathologist testified on Tuesday. But it was unclear from the footage whether Rosenbaum was grabbing for Rittenhouse's gun or trying to swat it away, said the witness, Dr. Doug Kelly, with the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's Office. Kelly was one of the final witnesses for the state before prosecutors rested their murder case after 5.5 days of testimony that were aimed at portraying Rittenhouse as the aggressor, but often bolstered the young man's claim of self-defense. His lawyers have suggested the 17-year-old was afraid his gun would be taken away and used against him. The defense began presenting its side, calling as its first witness people who were on the streets with Rittenhouse that night and describing him as pale, shaking, sweating, and stammering after the shootings. He repeats, "I just shot someone," over and over again, and I believe at some point he said he had to shoot someone, testified Nick Smith, who had gone there to the protest that shook Kenosha that night at the request of the owners of a car dealership to protect the business. "My God, my life might be over," another witness, Joan Fielder, quoted Rittenhouse as saying. She said that he didn't give any details about what happened, but told her he had to do it. Rittenhouse, now 18, killed 2 men and wounded a third during a night of turbulent demonstrations against racial injustices in Kenosha in the summer of 2020. Yes, they have to go back and put that. Former police cadet youth from Antioch gone to Kenosha with an AR-15. Do I want to do this now, or do I want to do this after we talk about the Rittenhouse stuff? I'll wait till afterwards to weigh my thoughts on what's going on here. You know, it's stuff that you guys have heard before, but given the fact that he had the testimony, I do want to reiterate what I have said from the beginning, from August 27th on, what I've said about this and why this matters. Twitter locked Libertarian Party account over a tweet saying Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong, from Carlos Garcia. A rather innocuous tweet was reportedly censored by Twitter for glorifying violence by opining that Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong. The reprimand from Twitter was sent to the account for the Libertarian Party of Kentucky after they tweeted on November 3rd. The tweet read, "Watching this trial, it's ever more obvious that Kyle Rittenhouse did nothing wrong." The company said the tweet had been in violation of their terms of service against glorifying violence and asked the account manager to delete the tweet before the account could be unlocked. "We prohibit content that condones or celebrates acts of violence that could promote imitation of the act. We also prohibit glorification of mass murders and genocides when protected categories have been the primary target of victims," the message read. So, Democrats, the protected categories. Let's see, what else do we have here? The Libertarian account later tweeted vaguely about their suspension. "Hey, we're back after our comments about a certain Illinois teenager and how that legal process is going," the account tweeted on Monday. Still BS, wonder if Twitter will apologize after said teenager is not convicted. The account for the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire posted a screenshot of the demand from Twitter next to a tweet from the Democratic member of Congress calling Rittenhouse a white supremacist domestic terrorist. Yeah, no, that... See, and LPNH says you can make up complete lies about Rittenhouse and you won't get banned, but if you say Rittenhouse was innocent, you will be. Twitter did not respond to a request for comment at the time of publication. So, there you go. Apparently you can't tweet that. From Fox, House Democrat caucus chair slammed for tweeting "Lock up Kyle Rittenhouse" after taking an anti-prison stance. From Andrew Mark Miller. Yeah, no, it's no prison for anybody except for those who vote differently than we do. Democrat Rep. Hakeem Jeffries was widely panned on social media after calling for 18-year-old alleged Kenosha shooter Kyle Rittenhouse to be jailed while his trial is still pending. "Lock up Kyle Rittenhouse and throw away the key," Jeffries tweeted as the alleged shooter's trial was airing live on television, causing many on social media to question whether it was appropriate for the elected official to risk tainting the jury pool by speaking out during a trial. Bruh. Bruh, I'm just trying to become famous. Sitting member of Congress and chair House Democrat Caucus, The Spectator editor Stephen L. Miller tweeted. Billy Binion also tweets out, for someone who has rightly dedicated much of his work to reforming the criminal justice system, this is really disappointing. Principles should remain consistent no matter how unsympathetic you find the defendant to be, otherwise they're meaningless. Well, if Hakeem Jeffries didn't have double standards, he wouldn't have any standards at all. Others pointed to a tweet from Jeffries in 2020 where he called for the end of mass incarceration and the defunding of the prison industrial complex, but is now calling for Rittenhouse to be jailed forever during a trial. Yes, exactly. Okay, I was going to wait till the end of this, but this is the perfect time to bring this out. This is the absolute perfect time to come out and talk about what's happening here and why this is important to them. Now, a lot of people have pointed out that there weren't big protests during the jury selection, that there were only a handful of people standing out in front of the courthouse. And looking back at it and looking at what happened last night, it does appear as well that there were only just a small handful of people that were in Memorial Park while they were doing this. There was only maybe 20, 30 people out there. I mean, we're not seeing the massive 100, 150 people autonomous zones like we saw in Seattle. For the most part, because a lot of the people down in that area aren't going to stand for that shit. And neither is Kenosha, neither is the city, neither is the county. They're not going to stand for that shit. But regardless, looking at this, and looking at the timing. Now, I don't know, and we will never know, if the protests quieted down the next day because Tony Evers, immediately after this, called in the National Guard. He called in, he ordered up the National Guard, and they started patrolling the streets, putting the city, my former hometown, by the way, into a sort of a state of military lockdown. And nobody will know, we will never know, if he did this because he finally had enough of it, that he finally saw enough going on there, or because somebody shot back and his voters were suddenly in danger off of this. And I don't think that there's as much a part of this. I don't think there is as much to this that Kyle Rittenhouse shot and killed people in self-defense. I think in any other situation, they would have looked at this and said, this is clear-cut self-defense, but they can't. They can't look at this and call this self-defense right now because in the midst, protesters came out and assaulted somebody to try and show their dominance, of the system, and somebody shot back. I don't know if the protest dissipated because the National Guard was coming out, or if the protest dissipated because somebody shot back. But given the level of persecution that is coming to Rittenhouse, from Binger, from the news media, from activists on Twitter, from left-wing politicians, for an entire summer, the protesters and the rioters across the country had free rein to do whatever they wanted. Nobody would dare shoot back. Nobody would dare push back. For the most part, business leaders, property owners, had to sit back and watch their property burn. Some of their people dying. In Minneapolis, they burned the liquor store and they found the skeleton. The recently charred skeleton of a person inside of that liquor store, locked in the liquor store, afraid to death of dying. The protesters had free range to hurt, injure, kill, hurl bricks, or do whatever the hell else that they wanted. To take a gun, to grab a gun, to hit somebody with a skateboard. One man shot back. Not to defend the American way of life. Not to defend a business. Not to end the riots. Not to do anything else. One man shot back to defend his own personal life and liberty. But it was enough to scatter and scare enough people. And we started to see a tapering down of riots across the country with that too. He may not have done this. to send a message, but it still sent a clear message. If you aggress and you threaten, we will push back. And that's why he's trying. That's why they're trying to put him into the hole. To send the clear message that if you stand back against the narratives that we're pushing out, we will put you away and you will never see the light of day again. That's why they're doing this the way that they're doing this. That's the way that I see it anyway. Because under any other circumstance, this would just be another incident of violence and a blip on the radar outside of this. But this ended the riots. From the angle that I could see, this ended the riots. And that's what I see off of that. And going right into this, actually, this I think got timed perfectly. I didn't intend to time this perfectly like this, but this got timed perfectly. Because also looking in at what the left wing, the narrative holders of this country have to say, let's read from the Daily Beast. Let's go as left as we can at this point. From the Daily Beast. Judges, God bless the USA ringtone blares during Rittenhouse trial. From Justin Baragona. The judge presiding over the Kyle Rittenhouse murder trial apparently forgot to silence his cell phone when the proceedings returned from lunch on Wednesday, revealing to the world that his ringtone is Lee Greenwood's cheesy patriotic anthem, God Bless the USA. Following a 1-hour break in the prosecution's heated cross-examination of Rittenhouse, the 18-year-old accused murderer's defense arguing for a mistrial with prejudice over ADA, Thomas Binger's actions. Specifically, Rittenhouse's defense lawyers object to Binger asking about Rittenhouse's right to remain silent, a line of questioning that Judge Bruce Schroeder had already admonished the prosecutor over. While the defense team argued that the murder case against Rittenhouse needed to be tossed, Schroeder's phone suddenly, and quite loudly, with the unmistakable chorus of the unapologetic flag-waving country tune, Schroeder quickly switched his phone off, and the proceedings continued as if nothing happened. First released in 1984, God Bless the USA gained renewed prominence following 9/11 terror attacks and has since become something of a standard in conservative political circles. Well, that's because left-wing political circles say that the entire country needs to be destroyed. Most recently, for example, former President Trump used the song as his entrance theme during rallies. So, that's what we see coming off of that. But there's more. First, let's watch the video of it happening.
I don't think that's necessarily what I'm supposed to do. But I think the court has to make some findings as it relates to the bad faith on the part of the prosecution. And if the court makes a finding that the actions that I had talked about were done in bad faith, then I think both.
Yeah, everybody who was watching my stream yesterday heard me say that right too. As soon as, because it didn't dawn on me what that was immediately, and then I thought about it, like, that sounds like God Bless the USA. First I said America the Beautiful, but I corrected myself. I said, that sounds like God Bless the USA by Lee Greenwood. Oh, that's not going to go over well with the leftoids in the trial. That's not going to pan well at all.
I don't think that's necessarily what I'm supposed to do. But I think the court has to make some findings as it relates to the bad faith on the part of the prosecution. And if the court makes a finding that the actions that I had talked about
Yeah, that's not going to play well to the leftoids over on Twitter that are already pissed off that this is going the way that it's going. And we knew that. And of course, we can go over to the Blaze and talk a bit about this as well. Liberals demand new judge in Rittenhouse case after his phone rings during trial with patriotic ringtone. Carlos Garcia. While many of the developments of the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse appeared to go south for the prosecution Wednesday, Someone on the left demanded a new judge after his phone rang during the trial and revealed a patriotic ringtone. Rittenhouse is on trial for shooting 3 protesters during political unrest in August 2020. In the wake of the police shooting of Jacob Blake, 2 of the 3 protesters died. On Wednesday, Kenosha County Circuit Judge Bruce Schrader berated the assistant district attorney. Oh yeah, we'll be watching some of that too, by the way. In what many saw as a sign that the case was possibly headed toward a dismissal by mistrial. In response, many on the left latched onto the idea that the judge's ringtone was evidence that he was biased in favor of Rittenhouse. Among those were former White House photographer during the Obama admin, Pete Souza, who tweeted, "Mistrial, assign a new judge." The incident captured by some on video and circulated on social media. Schrader doesn't seem to care about maintaining even a veneer of fairness. He's outright performing for the Fox News lemmings, said Democrat activist Lindy Lee. Apparently, the judge in the Rittenhouse trial has Lee Greenwood as his ringtone. That's literally the MAGA national anthem. Can we just jump ahead to the appeal? Tweeted writer Brian Behar. The state get an appeal? Dude, that's a lot more difficult than you think too, by the way, for the state to get an appeal. And by the way, these criminal justice acts, and this goes right back to, what was it, Rakeem Jeffries that we talked about earlier? Yeah. Hakeem, not Rakeem. What Hakeem Jeffries said, these people are all about the courts are bad, the courts are, we can't trust the courts, we can't trust the criminal justice system unless they are prosecuting somebody that they don't like. Laying odds that Rittenhouse defies justice with his white privilege card, which to his amazing luck is accepted by the white judge, with the Trump rally opening song as his ringtone, said one critic. God Bless the USA is the opening song played at every Trump rally. Lee Greenwood literally sang it at Trump's inauguration. It is the ringtone of the judge in the Kyle Rittenhouse murder trial, tweeted author Michael Gillette. The judge's ringtone this afternoon is the cherry on this turd of a trial, read one tweet. So yes, they are calling for a new judge into this. That's terrific. But, I mean, I saw it coming too. Alright, let's talk about what happened with the prosecutor. Let's start with the one with the fucking peanut gallery in behind it. Viva Frei, the judge should shoot out Binger for a grave constitutional violation, commenting on Kyle Rittenhouse's right to remain silent.
Commenting on my client's right to remain silent.
Yep.
Your Honor,
Yep.
I'm making the point that after hearing everything in the case, now he's tailoring his story to what has already been introduced.
The problem,
The evidence.
this is a grave constitutional violation.
Yes.
For you to talk about the defendant's
Judge is pissed.
silence.
Sanction.
And that is, and you're right. You're right on the borderline.
A grave
constitutional
violation. Oh, come on.
You may be over, but it better
Yeah.
stop.
Yes, you may
Well
be
over it.
Commenting on my client's right to remain silent.
And I mean, this all continued. Let's grab some of the rest of the clips from this, and then we'll comment on what happened with that. Judge rips Kyle Rittenhouse prosecution. I was astonished when you began his examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. That's basic law. That's been basic law in this country for 40 years, 50 years.
My understanding of
You should have come and asked for reconsideration. You did on the one motion, and in fact, I granted your motion for reconsideration.
That was not our motion.
Excuse me. I did. I granted.
We did not move
that
to
was
reconsider.
their motion.
We have not filed
forgive
any
me.
motions to reconsider in this case.
That was their motion for reconsideration, which I denied. But I said I denied it, or I indicated a bias towards denial is what I did. Held it open with a bias towards denial. Why would you think that that made it okay for you, without any advance notice, to bring this matter before the jury? I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. That's basic law. It's been basic law in this country for 40 years, 50 years. I have no idea why you would do something like that. And it gives, well, I'll leave it at that. So I don't know what you're up to.
May I respond?
Yes.
We filed an other acts motion on this exact issue because, in my mind, and I argued this, it is identical to what was going on the night of August 25th, in the sense that the defendant was using this exact same weapon. He was using it in a manner to try and protect property.
No, he wasn't.
Your Honor, with all due respect...
I'm not going to rehash the motion. That's absolutely untrue. No. Your argument's of record. My comments are of record, and why I ruled as I did is of record. There's nothing that I heard in this trial to suggest anything's changed, even if you're correct in your assumption that you know more than I did at the time. You should have come to the court and say, I want to go into this. Why you would think that you could go into it without any...
Sorry, I stepped up to go grab something to drink quick. Motherfucker. Looking back at this, what we said, what I had just said off of this, the prosecutor had been doing this the entire time as well. And we saw some of this going through this, and the judge having to step in. I mean, everybody who sat back and watched the live stream yesterday saw the fact that I kept popping in and saying, objection, where's the objection off of this? There should be an objection. He's badgering. He's asking the same question over and over again. He's leading. The leading was the hardest part. He led the witness so many times. Yes, it was cross, and yes, he's supposed, but he kept leading over and over again in a way that shouldn't have been legal. Any of that testimony that Rittenhouse gave towards the end of his towards the end of the stream yesterday should have been struck from the record. It should have been, because most of it was illegal, illegally obtained. And at one point, the judge actually had to jump in and make the objection because the defense wasn't. And I have an idea as to why they were doing this. I thought about this long since, and I really did. And it has nothing to do with a mistrial either. But, I mean, the judge had to come in at one point where Binger kept asking the same question, but you intended to kill Mr. Rosenbaum. And Rittenhouse kept saying, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. I didn't intend to kill him. I intended to stop the threat. If that involved killing him, then that involved killing him. That was the edge of it. But the line of questioning continued, and Binger said at one point, well, why don't you just answer the question then if you have nothing to hide? And the judge stepped in and said, he did answer the question. You just don't like his answer. So this was an over and over and over and over again thing. And I do think that the part of this is sympathetic jury. You come in and you've got the kid having to relive the probably worst moment of his life, that somebody had to die by his hands in order to protect his own life. That is the worst thing that anybody is ever going to have to go through. I know the libertarians like to say, oh, it'd be easy. Somebody comes onto my property, I'll just go shoot him, feed the bones to the hogs. And no. If you have to watch the life go out of another human being's eyes, that is going to change you, especially if it happened by your own hands. And to have to do this at such a young age as Rittenhouse did. But now we're looking at this, and you see an egregious prosecutor who is an asshole. I have not been tried by this particular prosecutor, but I know people who have. He is an ass. He is a horse's ass. He is a gigantic horse's ass. And now he is up there, angry at the fact that he can't admit evidence that he didn't bring forward. Angry at the fact that his own witness completely destroyed and shattered his own case. His star witness, Gage Grosskreutz, shattered his case under cross. And he has nobody left to take it out on, except the person who offered himself up as a sacrificial lamb, to stand up on the stand and say, okay, I will testify in my own defense. Prosecuting attorney, let me have it in front of a jury. That's what we see off of that. And there was more, by the way. Aaron Rupar, who also had an extended set of video off of this. But this is not going well for the prosecutor, says Aaron Rupar. Let's watch what he had to say.
In the questions, I asked the court to strongly admonish him, and the next time it happens, I'll be asking for a mistrial with prejudice. He's an experienced attorney, and he knows better.
Mr. Finger?
First of all, Your Honor, this was the subject of a motion. I'm well aware of that. And the court left the door open.
For me, not for you.
My understanding of
You should have come and asked for reconsideration. You did on the one motion, and in fact, I granted your motion for reconsideration.
That was not our motion.
Excuse me. I did. I granted.
We did not move
that
for
was
reconsideration.
Their motion.
We have not filed any motions to reconsider in this case.
That was their motion for reconsideration, which I denied. But I said I denied it, or I indicated a bias towards denial is what I did. Held it open with a bias towards denial. Why would you think that that made it okay for you, without any advance notice, to bring this matter before the jury? I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. That's basic law. It's been basic law in this country for 40 years, 50 years. I have no idea why you would do something like that. And it gives, well, I'll leave it at that. So I don't know what you're up to.
May I respond?
Yes.
We filed an other acts motion on this exact issue because, in my mind, and I argued this, it is identical to what was going on the night of August 25th, in the sense that the defendant was using this exact same weapon. He was using it in a manner to try and protect property.
No, he wasn't.
Your Honor, with all due respect,
I'm not going to rehash the motion. That's absolutely untrue. No. Your arguments of record, my comments are of record, and why I ruled as I did is of record. There's nothing that I heard in this trial to suggest that anything's changed, even if you're correct in your assumption.
And with an exchange like that, and we'll go catch the last one in just a second, but this bears repeating of Katie Zed's wonderful meme off of this. Schrader and Binger. I think I've already given away thing I like and thing I hate for the day, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. We can do that in advance. All right. And this was the request off mistrial in, I believe, a more full version than what we saw earlier.
I had done some research, and at this point, the defense is going to be making a motion for a mistrial. However, that motion is going to be requested with prejudice. I'm aware that the court's aware that normally a defense motion for a mistrial does not preclude a retrial. I understand that. There are exceptions to that, however. I had done some research, and at this point.
So yes, that was they're requesting off of this. Let's read from Fox News on the same subject here. Got just a couple more on Rittenhouse, then we can finally go talk about something else. Prosecutors could be barred from retrying Rittenhouse if prosecutors intentionally cause mistrial. Expert from Louis Cassiano. State of Wisconsin prosecutors could be barred from retrying Kyle Rittenhouse if a defense motion for the mistrial is granted and the court rules that prosecutors intentionally caused the mistrial, according to legal experts. Lawyers for Rittenhouse asked for a mistrial on Wednesday over the line of questioning directed at their client, which prompted Circuit Judge Bruce Schrader to angrily lash out at the chief prosecutor. He did not rule on the motion. Kenosha County ADA Thomas Binger was cross-examining Rittenhouse, who stands accused of shooting 3 men, 2 fatally during the night of chaotic protests and riots in Kenosha last year. Binger asked Rittenhouse about his silence after his arrest and the use of deadly force to protect property. I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence, Schrader told Binger after the jury was ushered out of the courtroom. That's basic law. That's been basic law in the country for 40 years, 50 years. I have no idea why you would do something like that. You know very well an attorney can't go into these types of areas when the judge has already ruled without asking outside the presence of the jury to do so. So don't give me that. That's number one. Following the contentious exchange, defense lawyers made the mistrial request. If the request is granted, prosecutors could refile the homicide and attempted murder charges against Rittenhouse unless a court finds they deliberately caused the mistrial in an attempt to get a second crack at the case. Alan Dershowitz, a Harvard law professor, told Fox News. If the mistrial was caused by the prosecution because they think they're losing their case, then the court might impose double jeopardy and say you can't be tried again, but that's a rare situation, he told Fox News. And I mean, this looks to be strategic on both ends. It looks like possibly the defense offered up Rittenhouse because the prosecutor was so frustrated by everything else. And he was just taking his anger out on Rittenhouse, violating the 4th, violating the 5th, violating the 1st on numerous occasions throughout this line of questioning. And of course, completely ignorant to the 2nd, because he is. But this could also be strategic by the prosecution that they botched this so bad that the defense does call for a mistrial. And then they go back and do this and try it in front of another judge too, by the way, because I guarantee that they, especially with the Lee Greenwood, their motion would be filed to, and probably a petition would go along with it to get a different judge off of this. It does look like they're deliberately trying to throw this case. And I mean, it's not going worth a shit for him anyway. So you agree, Mr. Grosskreutz, that Mr. Rittenhouse didn't fire on you until you pointed the gun at him? Yes, that's correct. And that's what we see off of that. All right, 2 more on Rittenhouse. Then we'll do other stuff. From The Verge. Judge buys Rittenhouse lawyer's inane argument that Apple's pinch to zoom manipulates footage. Yeah, I don't know what the hell was going on with that. I have no idea what the story was with that, what the deal was with that. That was, I don't know, stupid. From Sean Hollister. As Rittenhouse took to the stand to answer questions about the sequence of events before he shot and killed a man in Kenosha, the jury was forced to watch the video evidence play out in a miniature because Rittenhouse's defense lawyer came up with a wild notion that Apple has artificial intelligence that manipulates footage when you pinch to zoom on an iPad, and Schrader totally bought into that possibility. iPads, which are made by Apple, have artificial intelligence in them. No, Apple has no intelligence in them. I know, I own one. There's a reason that everything else in my system runs either Android or Windows. And I'm not even thrilled about Windows either, by the way. If I was practiced enough to use it as my primary source, what you're seeing in front of me would be running Linux right now. But I am not practiced enough in Linux, and the show must go on. But trust me, if I had the opportunity, I knew what I was doing, and I was practiced enough in it, this would be Linux. This wouldn't be Windows. iPads, which are made by Apple, have artificial intelligence in them that allows things to be viewed through 3 dimensions and logarithms, the defense insisted. It uses artificial intelligence or their logarithms to create what they believe is happening. So this isn't actually enhanced video. This is Apple's iPad programming creating what it thinks is there, not necessarily what is there, they added. It's algorithms. You moron. A logarithm, for those of us who remember what happened in Algebra 2, is the inverse of an exponent. While it's unclear from a full video of the proceedings via the Washington Post whether the judge actually prohibited the persecution from using an iOS device or otherwise zooming on the footage, the result was the same. Instead of using an iPad, the jury wound up watching the original zoomed out clips on a Windows machine hooked up to a large TV in the courtroom. The images didn't fill the TV's entire screen. Judge Schrader argued that it was the prosecution, not the defense, that had the burden of proving that Apple doesn't use artificial intelligence to manipulate footage, demanding they provide an expert to testify, and didn't allow the prosecution to adjourn to find that expert before bringing Rittenhouse up for cross. The judge suggested that prosecutors could somehow find the expert in the next 20 minutes. Although I'm sure that he probably wouldn't have done so because, well, he was on the stand at the time. I mean, they had a Zoomer right there who was probably sitting there shaking his head through the entire situation, by the way. But yeah, they had a Zoomer sitting right there. Maybe you can get someone to testify in this within minutes, I don't know, said the judge. No such expert was there by the time the trial resumed. While the nature of reality with regards to digital images is thorny when it comes to things like color, digital image scaling is fairly well understood. Yeah, that was dumb. And I mean, we got this horrible picture of this. I actually would have liked to see this zoomed in. I'm not going to lie. Because I wanted to see what the hell point they were trying to go with off of it. Where they were trying to go, what they were trying to do. I would have loved to actually see where they were trying to move with this, because apparently this white blob under here, under this sign, let me see if I can blow this up a little bit. No, I can't, that's maxed out. But this little white blob underneath the sign is supposedly supposed to be Rittenhouse. And the reason they wanted to use the iPad is so they could zoom in on that and actually see. I have seen enough evidence to say that this was all self-defense, but I kind of wanted to see where he was going with this. I really did. Alright, and the last one, just in case you thought that this was going to go the prosecution's way, or that there might be a honk-honk in the jury, from WGN TV, rather, not IGN. That's, what is IGN? International Games Network? I can't remember. I used to read IGN all the time. Chicago Police Department cancels days off, bracing for Rittenhouse verdict. From WGN Web Desk. Chicago police appear to be bracing for a verdict in the Rittenhouse trial, according to the city's largest police union. The CPD canceled regularly scheduled days off starting Friday and through the weekend. An internal memo sent to the rank-and-file officers does not mention the Rittenhouse trial. However, the Fraternal Order of Police made the connection, saying the move is possibly in anticipation of civil unrest if Rittenhouse is acquitted. The Fraternal Order of Police accuses the city of violating a mediation settlement by failing to provide notices to officers before canceling their days off. The trial continues on Wednesday. Yeah, we'll see what happens there, and we'll see if anybody else around here follows suit. I bet you Madison's already got them scheduled off. I bet you Milwaukee's already got it scheduled off. I'm sure Racine and Kenosha already do. Have we had any word from Portland lately? I don't know. We will see. Alright, that's all the Rittenhouse stuff I have. It only took us an hour and 46 minutes. Well, that's not completely true. Probably an hour and 26 because we did finance at the top of here. Let's talk about other stuff. Something we've talked about on this channel before, but now it's actually a reality. Occupy Democrats tweets out, breaking! Congress approves new mandate requiring that alcohol monitoring systems be included in all new vehicles as early as 2026 in an effort to stop intoxicated drivers and completely eliminate DUI deaths. Retweet if you think this is a great idea! For those of you who are Twitter users, oops, that's right, I can't use right-click in that program. Quote tweet if you think this is dumb as fucking shit. There you go. Go to town. Quote tweet if you think this violates the Fourth and Fifth Amendments. You remember when Occupy Democrats, and I commented that too, you remember when Occupy Democrats was against government overreach? Because this is government overreach. Completely. Don't Call Me Bae says, this will get people killed. One example, woman has a glass or two of wine. Abusive ex-boyfriend shows up unannounced. Woman has no means of escape. Just so you know, I will not be buying any new vehicles beyond 2026. If this is true. If they keep trying to throw more shit in here, and I don't like all the controls and bells and whistles that are on my 2014. I like my 2014, don't get me wrong. But I don't like all the controls and bells and whistles that are on there, like the traction control. I don't care for that, and I can't turn it off. You hit the button, it turns it off somewhat, but yeah, I don't care for that. I don't care for the ABS. I don't care for my truck when I'm in a skid to try to correct it for me when we can't do it. We can't try to correct the skid at the same time, truck. But this is just level overreach above and beyond. Our friends at NPR go along with this and tell us more. Congress's new mandate to car makers figure out a way to stop drunk driving. This is from the Associated Press. And remember, if you're not drinking and driving, you're saving all kinds of money that you can donate out to NPR. So make sure you hit that donate button up on the top because it's not your money, comrade, it's our money. And NPR loves government overreach, especially when it's taking away our money, comrades. So make sure you hit that donate button. NPR, National Progressive Radio. Congress has created a new requirement for automakers. Find a high-tech way to keep drunken people from driving cars. It's one of the mandates, along with a burst of new spending aimed at improving auto safety amid escalating road fatalities in the $1 trillion infrastructure package that President Biden is expected to sign soon. Under the legislation, monitoring systems to stop intoxicated drivers would roll out in all new vehicles as early as 2026, after the Transportation Department assesses the best form of technology to install in millions of vehicles, and automakers are given time to comply. In all, about $17 billion is allotted to road safety programs, the biggest increase in such funding in decades, according to the Eno Center for Transportation. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttplug said on Monday that that could mean more protected bike paths and greener spaces built onto roadways. So a bike path so he can take his armored GMC SUV with the big block, or not the big block, it's not a big block, but the big V8. He can take his armored GMC to within 2 blocks of where he has to go, and then get out on his bike and clumsily ride his bike for the next 2 blocks to get into work. It's monumental, so Alex Ott, national president of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Ott called the package the single most important legislation in the group's history that marks the beginning of the end of drunk driving. It will virtually eliminate the #1 killer in America's roads, she said. Last month, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration reported an estimated 20,160 people died in traffic collisions in the first half of 2021, the highest first half total since 2006. the agency pointed to speeding, impaired driving, and not wearing seatbelts during the coronavirus pandemic as factors behind the spike. Each year, around 10,000 people are killed due to alcohol-related crashes in the U.S., making up nearly 30% of all traffic fatalities, according to the NHTSA. So, there you go. More government overreach in your lives. From Politico. It's a disgrace. Progressives take aim at Buffalo Mayor's DNC post. From David Siders and Holly Otterbein. Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown infuriated progressives with his winning write-in campaign last week against the Democrat Socialist who beat him in the primary. Now the prominent left-wing Democrats are calling for the veteran New York mayor's head, urging Democrats to strip Brown of his position in the Democratic National Committee. When you pull a stunt like this, someone wins a primary, a working-class woman, and you go to every rich donor in both parties to fund a write-in campaign, it's a disgrace, said Larry Cohen, chairman of the Bernie Sanders aligned group, Our Revolution. Really? Because the people still had the ability to vote. Oh, you can only vote for people that we have told you that you can vote for. That sounds like the LP, I'm not going to lie. Cohen, a DNC member himself, said he plans to organize an effort to press Democrats to remove Brown from his post on the National Committee. And on Monday, India Walton, the unsuccessful Democrat nominee for Buffalo Mayor, threw her weight behind the move. What weight? You just lost. As a Democrat in Democrat Buffalo, you have no weight in this fight. Not only do I support the DNC revoking Byron Brown's post, I believe it would set a dangerous precedent not to, she said in a statement to Politico. Why? He knows what to do to win, which is something the rest of you fuckers have seemed to have forgotten at this point. The endeavor, while unlikely to succeed, reflects on the extent of lingering tensions between moderate and progressives Democrats following a dismal election for the party last week, in which Democrats lost the governor's race in Virginia and sweated out Governor Phil Murphy's narrow victory in New Jersey. Both flanks of the party immediately blamed the other for the performance. The left claimed former Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe was an uninspiring Clinton world candidate, while the centrists lamented the climate of wokeness that they said clouded the entire campaign. Autopsy? Both. Both are true. Last week's finger-pointing also followed months of infighting between moderate and progressive Democrats on the Hill. Until its passage on Friday, left-wing lawmakers have been holding up President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure bill in hopes of passing his Build Back Better agenda, while centrists in the Senate have been casting doubt on Biden's social spending plan. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin was surrounded by climate change protesters last week while in his Maserati. Does his Maserati go 185? Has he lost his license? And now he won't drive? While a fellow moderate, Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema, has been threatened with primary by progressives in her state. Please, please, please primary Kyrsten Sinema from the left in Arizona. Please. Please. Please primary her from the left. I want to watch that firework. I want to watch that happen. I want to watch the progressives get fucking curb stomped again. The divide among Democrat factions, which is also playing out in battleground states like Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Arizona, is one of multiple challenges facing the party ahead of what is expected to be a grueling midterm election in 2022, and the intra-party feuds are only likely to multiply next spring when the left-wing and moderate Democrats face off in primaries across the country. I hope you guys have stocked up on popcorn. I might have to stop eating low carb just for the primaries because, man, that's going to be a fucking mess. All right. From NewJersey.com. New Jersey Senate President Sweeney concedes in his stunning election loss. oh, wait, we found 12,000 more votes, and I'm going to stick into this until every vote is counted. But if I'd have been winning, the other guy should have conceded. From Brent Johnson. State Senate President Stephen Sweeney on Wednesday conceded the defeat in his re-election race against a virtually unknown Republican challenger, an upset practically nobody expected and one that has stunned New Jersey's political world. The South Jersey Democrat blamed a red wave of Republican voter turnout for his loss and insisted his time in politics isn't over. All votes have been fairly counted, and I, of course, accept the results. A clearly emotional Sweeney, New Jersey's second most powerful elected state official. Not anymore. After the governor said during a news conference in the State House in Trenton. The Associated Press declared last Thursday that Sweeney, D. Gloucester, had lost his Senate seat in South Jersey's third legislative district to Republican Edward Durr, a commercial truck driver with no elected political experience. Sweeney, the longest-serving Senate president in state history, declined to concede for 6 days, saying he was waiting for more votes to be counted. I'm talking like Obama again. It's just coming out. I'll have to take my headphones off because my ears are gonna turn out, come out, and he's waiting for more votes to be counted, and that's it. And we'll print them up, and they'll be counted, and he'll be Senate president again. He's waiting for more votes to be counted. Printed. Headline on the same story from the Daily Wire. It was a red wave. New Jersey's second most powerful Democrat concedes in major election upset. From Tim Pierce. New Jersey Senate President Steve Sweeney conceded his own race on Wednesday, acknowledging GOP challenger Edward Durr as one of New Jersey's newest state senators. I don't know about that, Quest. I do like show tunes a lot. Thank you, Deep Ussy, for the follow over on Twitch, by the way. Thank you for that. I saw that on the monitor. And thank you for the diamond, by the way, Quest Banning. 100% correct. Sure creates a deterrent. I didn't remember what it was that he was talking about, but thank you for the diamond. I just looked over on the monitor and saw that, too. Mostly because I just opened up the monitor. I usually only have the Twitch monitor up over on this side, because they're the ones that are paying me. But yes, I got the diamond over on DLive as well. Let's see. Sweeney's loss is a major upset for New Jersey Democrats and came amid a groundswell of outrage from parents and others over the inclusion of critical race theory and other progressive ideas and policies in public schools. The swell in GOP support nearly cost the election for Democrat Governor Phil Murphy as well. It was a red wave, Sweeney said at a Wednesday press conference when asked how Durr, a truck driver and a political newcomer, beat the second most powerful politician in the state, according to the Associated Press. The results of Tuesday's elections are in. All votes have been fairly counted, and I, of course, accept the results. I want to congratulate Mr. Durr and wish him all the best of luck, Sweeney said, before he went back onto another room and cried. While delivering prepared remarks, the people of the 3rd Legislative District are the best of New Jersey, and it's been an honor and privilege to represent them in the State Senate and to serve as President of the State Senate. Well, that was classy, at least. Alright, let's do 2 more, and let's do Thing I Like and Thing I Hate. Which I think you guys already know what the Thing I Like is. From Politico, 51-month sentence urged for QAnon shaman Jacob Chansley. Q Shaman. Every time I hear Q Shaman, that's the first thing I hear is Alex Jones' voice in my ear on the Remix Bros song that we listened to yesterday while we were waiting for the trial to commence back up after their lunch break. Q Shaman. From Kyle Cheney and Josh Gerstein. Jacob Chansley, the QAnon adherent who infamously stormed the Senate chamber shirtless and wearing horns, should go to prison for 51 months, persecutors say on Tuesday in a late-night sentencing memo carrying their stiffest recommendation yet in any case stemming from the insurrection. Selfie Fest. Images of Chansley in the Senate rostrum where he crawled through scrawled a menacing note to Vice President Mike Pence became iconic in the aftermath of the attack. The so-called QAnon shaman is just the third felony defendant to reach the sentencing phase of his persecution after pleading guilty to obstructing Congress's effort to certify the 2020 election. Defendant Chansley's now famous criminal acts have made the public face of the Capitol riot, prosecutors said in the 28-page filing. The defendant was among the first 30 rioters to penetrate the U.S. Capitol building, they continued. The defendant then stalked the hallowed halls of the building. Oh my God. This is a religion to these people. And the enemy shaman has come in and desecrated their holy shrine. It's not a cult. Riling up other members of the mob with his screaming obscenities about our nation's lawmakers and flouting the opportunity to rid our government of those he has long considered to be traitors. It's not a cult. The Justice Department's sentencing proposal for Chansley, who isn't accused of assaulting law enforcement or destroying government property, far outstrips the prosecutor's 18-month recommendation for Paul Hodgkins, the only felony defendant serving a prison sentence related to the Selfie Fest attack. The judge ultimately sentenced Hodgkins, who, like Chansley, made it into the Senate chamber, into an 8-month jail term. Prosecutors are also seeking a 44-month trial for Scott Fairlamb, a former MMA fighter who pleaded guilty to assaulting a police officer after exiting the Capitol on January 6th. Fairlamb is set for sentencing on Wednesday before U.S. District Court Judge Royce Lamberth, who is also handling Chansley's case. Look, it's reality here. They're not talking about going in and putting these people in prison in massive sentences because they actually believe they did something wrong. And in fact, if this was a Republican certification, a lot of these leftoids that are calling for these massive sentences would be out there touching themselves saying, "We need to come in here, we need to stop this." You know, just like the girl in yellow who came down, dropped to her knees, and shouted, "No!" Prosecutor's recommendation of a 4-year, 3-month prison term for the Arizona resident at the top of the sentencing guidelines range that the court officials calculated his case of 41 to 51 months. Yeah, it's a show. It's to come out here and make sure that you don't think that you have the ability to go into the people's house and air your grievances. It's all a fucking floor show, just like everything else. And because he's so high profile and such a fucking goofball, I have to have my vegan meals in prison. I can only eat whole grain, whole food granola. Then everyone else will look in and see this dude and say, "Oh shit. If I try to do something, then I might go to prison too." Which, I mean, we'll see this too, because, you know, the next time through, there'll be another mysterious rally at the Capitol, and people will start coming into live chats and saying, "Hey, are you going to this rally in the Capitol? We need to get everybody there. We need to get every patriot there. Don't you want to come in and show everyone that you're a patriot?" It's a trap. Alright, and the last one, coming to us from Ron Helton. I believe you dropped this in during, it was either during Contemporary or the special stream yesterday. From CNBC, Beyond Meat shares crater as losses mount. Company expects weak U.S. sales growth ahead. From Amelia Lucas. I love the label on this. No soy, no gluten. No soy, except for the people who buy this fucking shit. Look, here's the thing. Before I even read this, here's the thing about Beyond Meat and Beyond Burgers. If you are going to be vegan, vegetarian, don't want to eat meat, don't want to do this, why do you want something that looks and tastes like meat? I don't understand. If you want to tell everybody how amazing and how vegan you are, why do you want to eat something that tastes like meat, that looks like meat, that acts like meat? Just is made out of plant proteins. I don't understand. Go get some fucking broccoli and eat some peanut butter. Beyond Meat on Wednesday reported a widening loss in its third quarter as the U.S. demand for its meat substitutes shrank and higher costs are into its profits. The company also disappointed investors with its fourth quarter outlook, indicating that sales aren't expected to snap back immediately. Shares of the company tumbled 18% in extended trading. Here's what the company reported compared with what Wall Street was expecting based on a survey of analysts by Refinitiv. Loss per share 87 cents versus 39 cents expected. Revenue 106.4 million versus 109.2 million expected. Beyond reported a fiscal third quarter net loss of 54.8 million or 87 cents per share, wider than a net loss of 19.3 million or 31 cents per share. A year earlier, analysts surveyed by Refinitiv expected a loss of 39 cents per share. The Combat said it faced higher transportation and warehousing costs and increased its inventory write-offs, which hurt its profits. About $9 million was written off due to water damage at one of its plants, which mostly affected packaging. Look, I understand, and on most things, I didn't do the Beyond Meat thing myself, but on most things, before I judge them, before I say they're crap and nobody wants them, I will at least try them. And I may, in the future, actually try the Beyond Meat stuff, just to know. Just know how garbage it actually is. I might not. This one I might not. It's the same thing with Rise of Skywalker. I don't really say that Rise of Skywalker is garbage because I haven't seen it. I've seen Force Awakens and I've seen Last Jedi. I've never seen Rise of Skywalker. And both Force Awakens and Last Jedi were garbage. Chick Ghostbusters was garbage. I did like Ocean's 8, by the way. I did like that. If they had, by the way, used any name other than Ocean on there, that would have been a really good heist movie. But I don't generally come in and say something is garbage unless I've seen it. Or tried it, or experienced it. And I can't say that this Beyond stuff is garbage. What I can say about this is what we're seeing here, especially for the surge in sales and the subsequent loss, is a lot of people went out and tried this. They went out and bought it and said, okay, well, they're trying to make us healthier. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do that. Let's see how bad this actually is. I bet you there was a lot of curiosity about this. Oh, they say it tastes just like meat. They said the same thing about Boca Burgers too, but that wound up to be false. I have tried a Boca Burger. That was a long time ago. Fuck, I was still engaged the last time I had a Boca Burger. Those have been out for a while. But I'm sure there were a lot of people out there because they were told this tastes just like regular meat. You won't even know the difference. So a lot of them decided to see if they would know the difference. I don't know if I would know the difference or not because I've never tried it. But the novelty is worn off. The next fad is over, and now people aren't buying it. I liked Solo, okay? I did think it was good. Alright. That's it. We're done with the news. Let's finish up with the thing I like, thing that I hate, and head over and see our friend Stephen Ignoramus. So, thing I like, obviously, is going to be looking back in at the trial that we spent the entire show talking about, just about. The thing I like today is the memes that have come out, and Katie Zed, of course, has been the meme smith in chief for most of this year. Arbolt is also very, very good with memes, but he hasn't been doing as many for this one here. But I mean, yes, the memes are coming. And I think Katie Zed knew that she was going to be a thing I like today because of the memes, and it looks like we have some new ones off of here. This one. Okay, now try to take his rifle. And they're sitting back laughing. I like that one. Four doors, more horrors. Bruh, just trying to be famous. This one's watermarked from Phoenix Ammunition, though. Who they've been egregious throughout this entire thing. Have you ever made jazz hands for no apparent reason? Yeah, that was a lot of what the questioning sounded like too. Obviously, he didn't say that, but You know, that seemed like, have you ever done this for no apparent reason? Jazz hands! And then, of course, I have to give credit to another meme smith who didn't get featured on KDZ's page just because there were more memes off of this here. Sometimes they don't have to be funny, sometimes they have to be informative, but, you know, there's Gage, just like we saw earlier. It's a very large caliber rifle. 223. Is it though? I have seen Ragnarok too, by the way. I liked Ragnarok. I think that was the last Marvel movie that I saw. No, I did see Age of Ultron too, I guess. Alright, now for a thing that I hate. A Steel Rain tweets out, what color is fucking? Because of this tweet right here from Wen Kexing's fan holder at I am Jade Brienne, if you want to go see the tweet for yourself. This is a brilliant tactic for those having to return to the office. And they are distributing out social distancing wristbands. Green, high fives and handshakes. Yellow, elbow bumps only. Red, keep your distance. What inane fucking bullshit is this? I mean, first off, we should be doing a lot more social distancing than we are. And I have noticed, by the way, since the masks have come off in Wisconsin, there are a lot of people who are standing a lot closer to you in line at the Quick Trip than there used to be. So, yeah, we can definitely shut some of that shit down. But, I mean, how do you do a business thing if you can't just go up and shake somebody's hands? How do you close a deal? How do you do something else like that? The hysteria is over. I would like it very much if people kept social distancing a little bit more. That's 6 feet away. That was kind of nice. But an elbow bump? Are you fucking serious? That's the only thing I don't like about the church I currently go to, and it is a fairly conservative church. I like that. But the pastor, because I have to go in and do shut-ins and I have to protect myself from that, he does the elbow bump thing, and he's got the face shield. And I understand he is trying to protect himself because he does go do shut-ins with the elderlies. I do understand that. I appreciate it, but it's still inane in my eyes that we're still at this point in our world. But just throw a star on there with the word Der Juden on it and call it a fucking day. Seriously? But that's what we have. And of course, Wen Kexing is Team Kylo Ren. Of course she is. Why wouldn't she be? Alright, I'm done. What about you? Are you guys ready to go watch the Daily Ignoramus? 40 minutes in, of course, because I took too long talking about Kyle Rittenhouse. So, thanks everybody who came by and stuck around with me throughout the entire thing. Because, yeah, we had a lot to talk about, and it was really, really dense today, too. So, definitely thank you for that, because, yeah, without some of the humor and without some of the memes, I don't think we could have made it through all this here. But definitely come back tomorrow. By the way, tomorrow is live chat day, so if you guys are just lurking right now, get those live last-minute messages in, so I can make sure to come in and say thank you very much for coming in, supporting the show, live chatting with us. Make sure you hit the GoFundMe for TurnSomePagesProductions.com. Make sure you go check out TurnSomePagesProductions.com and check out all the great creators that are over there, who I consider all to be great friends of mine. Definitely go and check all of them out. They're great people. It's a wonderful time over there. Make sure you guys come back here 7:15 a.m. tomorrow morning for more Contemporary, and we will see you then. And we'll see you over at the Daily Ignoramus too. If one of my mods, can you put that link up in the chat for us as we're finishing out here? So let's go head out. Let's go check that out. The Dumb Stream, I believe, is the one that he's using right now, but go check that out as well. And until then, until we see you next time, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.